Hi, it's Joe from OCDetailing, and I want to talk about some defects because on my last video, a lot of people commented that I made they commented on the fact that I mentioned at the end of my video, like all good Teslas, it came with some defects that need to be addressed. So I have behind me two very brand new Teslas. One of them is a Model 3, which I'm sure you guys have seen. This is a Model S. This car has roughly 400 miles on it. This car, I think, has 200 miles on it. So they are both brand new cars. And I want to show you what I mean by paint defects. But first, I want to emphasize it. No matter how much these cars cost, it is really not out of the ordinary to see factory defects on brand new cars. We've had Bentleys and Ferraris dropped off here on trucks covered in plastic, and we pull the plastic off and there's paint defects on it. It's just not in the manufacturer's budget usually to get the paint perfect. All the things that drive me bonkers and the reason I'm an OC detail type of guy, they don't really care about. So here, I'm going to show you some common paint defects. I'm going to start with this Model S because it's glaring on this one, which this car came out with pretty rough. So, just from right there, look at the bumper. We see a hologram type of pattern there. That hologram pattern is created by rotary buffer. This is when somebody takes a rotary buffer and high-speed polishes paint. You know, this is an effective method of removing scratches aggressively if you know what you're doing. If you do not know what you're doing, you end up with stuff like this where you've got swirl marks, a burn. This is a flagrant burn where someone was trying to remove what appeared to be a little scratch right here on a brand new car. You can see how it's grayed out right there. That actually needs to be repainted to be perfect. Luckily for this car though, we're going to be doing a full stealth wrap on it. By the time I do some magic with polishing and stealth wrap it, you won't be able to see it. So that's a cool thing. On the Model 3, we have sanding clusters all right here. And what that's from is when they painted this car, they got dust in the paint. And getting dust in the paint, the way they fix it is they take a little DA sander and they do what is called a nibbing process. So they take this little this air-powered machine, they go whoop, and it turns it gray. Because when you put the sanding marks on there, it dulls out the clear. And basically that graying is actually just a really condensed buffing pattern that leaves it's a really condensed scratch pattern that leaves the paint looking hazy or dull. And then they buff it out very quickly with a rotary polisher, kind of like that, and you're left over with the remnants that look like this, or you're left over with what you see here, which is just a cluster of what appears to be, in the industry, we call it pigtails, because it's like where a piece of dust got stuck under the DA machine and just dragged along, and it makes a pigtail pattern. So this car is suffering from extreme pigtailing all over the place and wipe down swirls. So people were wiping it down left and right. It's one of the first Model 3s out. I'm sure this thing sat on the showroom and they probably dusted this car down or wiped it off with whatever they were using 100 times, and that's where I see all the wipe pattern, the left and right straight line marring, the sanding marks that came from the factory, buffer holograms, those usually come from the factory, and those are the defects I see on Teslas. And that's why when people ask me, why do I have to perform a paint correction on a brand new car? I often say it doesn't, well, it's right there. That's why. Because I can't just call that okay with me. Ideally, when the sun hits paint, you want to see no marks, no swirls, nothing but clear, crisp reflections and some really glossy paint. And that's what we do here at OC Detailing. Thank you. Please subscribe for more videos.